Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
The W.E.C.P. proudly presents Aaron Holiday, Jerry Flynn, the Heels of Podcast. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 5 of W.E.C.P. This is going to be a solo edition for part of it. Jerry has a prior commitment to go to I believe a country show. He told me the name. It's nobody that I recognize, so I'm not going to try to fumble my way through a name that I don't know. But first, I'd like to talk about wrestling.
That's this wrestling, you fuckface!
So, first of all, wrestling is starting to take an upturn in terms of WWE. Roman versus Cena, it's actually a good build. I'm quite happy with what Cena's doing. Roman's a little rough. I don't think he's good off the cuff, or maybe he's just worried the company won't accept what he says off the cuff. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I just want to say Cena, he's coming out guns blazing, almost like when he had his issues with The Rock, and because of their issues off screen, turned into a great feud on screen. I don't know if they really don't like each other. I've never heard anything bad about Roman. Everybody says that he's a nice guy. Cena's obviously a nice person off screen for the most part. I mean, everyone says that, so it seems like that's the preconceived notion of him. I'm just excited to see it. I know it's basically Cena and Cena 2.0 attacking one another, and they're going to be very you're going to see all their high spots. You're going to see all their moves that they always do every match. It's going to be, the 5-knuckle shuffle. It's going to be, the Superman punch. It's going to be a lot of that. I'm hoping they allow them to actually do a good formed match. Cena seems to elevate people, and Roman's good at selling. So I don't know which way I want this to go, how I want it to end. I just feel that they're just going to bury one guy. But one guy, I mean, Cena, you can't really bury him because at this point, he is Super Cena. He's always going to come back. He supposedly has some commitments for a Transformers movie, so he's going to be leaving soon. So, he can take the loss. So it's probably going to be Roman. Fans will still boo the shit out of him. Cena's starting to, fans are still booing him, but they boo and chant "you suck," as he said to Kurt Angle. So he's still, I think, a little ways away from the hardcore fans liking him, or I should say loving him. I like him. I don't love him, but I like him. I think he's respectful. As a competitor and on the mic, he's gotten a hell of a lot better. That's where Roman needs to really work, is his promos. If it's not scripted, he doesn't really know what he's doing, I feel. Feels a little forced. Kind of like probably listening to me talk right now. But I'm excited to see it. It's going to be, I believe, at No Mercy, which is cool to see No Mercy come back, which was one of my favorite video games. I know WWF WrestleMania 2000's everybody's go-to game. I always liked No Mercy. The next big event is going to be Braun versus Brock. And Braun put the Big Show on his shoulder and threw him through the steel cage. Or slammed him, whatever way you want to look at it. That's insane considering how strong you have to be to do it. But Braun's a big dude. They're slowly convincing me that he is great for what they're doing. And I think he's going to be really interesting for the future. He's much more believable to me as a wrestler and what he's doing than Brock is to me. I know Brock's a badass and he's super fucking strong in real life and killed a lot of people. Literally a modern day Viking, but so is Braun. And Braun's actually taller. So I just want to see how that turns out. I just hope it's not a Brock just comes out on top and we have to see that crap over and over and over again. Because I want to see them build an actual character from the beginning, which they have. I'm glad that he's not with the Wyatt family. I know that a lot of people were concerned he couldn't do it. He's obviously proven that he can. And another thing you want to thank Roman too. Roman just taking the beatings from the guy initially. And now he's starting to prove himself that he's actually worthwhile to watch. And I just don't know. Fingers crossed that they just keep working on him. Because he right now is the hottest thing in the company. Braun Strowman is the biggest, baddest fucking character they have. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. I want to see that. I don't know what you would do after Brock. Like, who do you compare him to after Brock? Like, who do you team him up against? Or team him up with? Like, it's just because they've been doing that now because of the whole thing with Rollins and the clown. Dean Ambrose. Yeah, and Dean Ambrose and Rollins now the tag champs, and I don't know what the hell to think of that, and when that's going to end, and when Dean's going to turn, and if that's going to do anything for Dean. But, yeah, I'm also extremely excited, based upon the build that they're giving me, Shane versus Kevin Owens. Like, who would have thought you'd want to see another Shane match? He keeps kind of teasing, he being Kevin Owens, that like all he's good for is these big spots, and they keep kind of talking about it. So I kind of feel like we're going to see another Shane O'Mac jumping off of something, and I kind of don't know if I want to see that. Maybe him just jumping off of like the top ropes onto like through a couple tables or something like that, like having to do it multiple times through announcer desks. I can see that. But I just don't want to see another, I don't want to see him climbing up on top of a cage and jumping off of it again. That doesn't particularly intrigue me. I'm liking where it's going, though. Kevin is, just a great heel. And the sad thing to say, the guy that's like a true babyface right now, the biggest true babyface in the company, is Shane O'Mac. A guy that's not really a wrestler. Obviously now he's had a bunch of matches, and the man's willing to take a beating. But it's crazy that like he's their biggest babyface in the company. And he's not even a part-timer because he's on TV every week. He just, the man got into a freaking helicopter accident a couple months ago. Like, can he be killed? And I mean that seriously. Is the man indestructible? Obviously look at his father. His father's still going. But KO is killing it with his promos, and Shane is selling the shit out of this. Like, don't talk about my kids. Like, and it just being a really good slow burn and just getting you like, oh my God, like, yeah, no, Shane, totally go after him. Like, he's talking about your family and da 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 da. That's the shit I'm excited about. I'm excited. I'm intrigued by. And like I said, he can do that crazy spot that you don't really expect, but you do. It's going to come out of nowhere. The other thing I'm also really excited about is Shinsuke Nakamura. He beat Randy Orton. And hopefully now that he's done that, fingers crossed, cross your toes too, that they're not going to bury him after this. For whatever reason, Randy Orton, they just have a soft spot for the guy. Yeah, he's gotten better over the years. He's another one like The Miz that he annoys me, but I get it. I get why he gets a push sometimes and why he's important, and he's gotten better and he's worked on himself. But Shinsuke Nakamura, that's the real man. That's the moneymaker right there. He is amazing in the ring. He's got a great personality. He doesn't have to do a lot of talking. The worry is, he translate. Well, he's translated. No more issues. Like, he is who he is. And he is what we want him to be. I want to see him versus AJ. Like, that's the match I really want to see. And maybe we'll get it. Maybe we'll get it in the next couple months. I am just so ready for that. And I know it sounds stupid, but come on. Like, now that you have Asuka having her issue with her collarbone and, have to relinquish the title, and she's going to come up to either Raw or SmackDown, I want to see her on SmackDown as well. I know it's crazy to put them both on the same show because they're similar, but I want to see that. And then I think she would greatly improve the SmackDown women, but I feel that right now the Raw women are the hardest ones to really pay attention to. The floppiting of the title, just back and forth, handing it back and forth, and they just, I don't know what it is, whether Sasha Banks did something wrong, or they're just trying to bury her. It's insane to me. I don't know what they're doing with her. I mean, once again, I love Alexa Bliss, but what are you doing? The next crazy thing that they're like actually putting effort towards is Enzo Amore is getting a title shot in 205 Live, which I'm fucking happy for. I know Jerry and a bunch of other people that are like, who gives a shit? Enzo isn't good. He's not fun. Like, I find him amusing. And I know I catch shit for hating, the shitbag of fucking The New Day, Xavier Woods. They're similar. They say stupid shit and they do stupid shit and whatever, and they're smaller guys, but I just think Enzo, for me, I just connect with him. I think for whatever reason, I just like him, and I think he's funny and intriguing, and yeah, he's that little guy, the little engine that could, but he takes a beating. Like, I think that's what I like about him, is that he's willing to take a bump, that some guys don't want to take those bumps, and he's willing to do it. He's willing to take that chance to see if it builds the story right, and he's paid for it in the past, but I feel that that's worth it in the long run for him, for the story, and what they're trying to accomplish. Now, does that bring more eyes to 205 Live? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't watch it that often, but I think now I might. I think what he's doing is going to bring my eyes towards it. I've been watching a lot of the network, but a lot of the older stuff. I don't know if they're 100% trying to look for the older guys in the new, like, I think they're trying to build the stories more towards newer fans. I think Enzo's great for older fans for the simple fact that somewhere down the road he could be that manager, that heel manager. Like they kind of tease the split up of, what's his name, Ellsworth and, oh God, what's her name? The champ she's not the champ. The Money in the Bank winner. Oh God, what is her name? God, I can't believe I'm getting stumped on this one right now. Well, anyway, I'm not going to keep holding you on that. It's just, I'm excited to see what they do. I think that guy is what you could do with Enzo, only better. I think that might be your new model, is having male managers and valets instead of female valets, which is fine with me. I don't need a female valet to get a guy over. I think it helps certain characters and it hinders certain characters. But, okay, so the next really, I mean, here's the biggest thing is the Mae Young Classic final is going to be on SmackDown live in Las Vegas next week. It's going to be Shayna Baszler and Cara Zane, I believe is how you say it. I'm excited to see that for the simple fact that I think at the end of it, you're going to get the tease of the 4 horsewomen of MMA and of the WWE. And that could be your Survivor Series match. That's like crazy. Everybody's going to love it. Ronda Rousey is scheduled to be there. So is Hope Solo. They're making a big event of it. Like, it's a red carpet event for this SmackDown with this Mae Young Classic finale. I'm intrigued to see what comes out of this. I've liked most of the matches that I've seen. I think some of them have been a little rough, but that's, you're taking people that have either never worked together or are still being trained at the performance center and still trying to figure out what they're doing. I think the Final Four was a great Final Four out of the women that were actually in the competition. And I believe the final 2 it's not a bad choice. It's definitely something I'm excited to see. I'm really wondering what they're going to do with the NXT title, women's title, whether this is going to be, oh, you win this, now you got to face Ember Moon to see who wins the title. I think that could be a good build, but build it. Don't just, okay, you get an automatic title shot. Make that part of the storyline. Like, I want a title shot. Oh, well, then you're going to have to compete against me because get in line, get behind me, and then just cause a big thing about that. Maybe you could have another on NXT a tournament for the women's title. That's a lot of women's tournaments, but it works. And if you do it right, it really gets people's eyes to it and gets people excited for once about, once again, the women's revolution, and it's getting better, and we're getting better actual wrestlers. I think you got women that are like Naomi that are still in there that aren't, she's gotten a lot better. I respect her, but she's still one of those women that's not a wrestler first to me. She used to be a cheerleader, and she still has a lot of that in her. She's very, I don't know, kind of like how we would always say about like Cena and Roman and The Rock. A lot of this, they use the same moves over and over again. They are very spot oriented, I just don't know if she works fast enough, is what I think I would say. And I think the women that especially in this tournament, have worked fast, have built stories, have shown you large versus small, speed versus technique / submission. Shayna Baszler, yeah, I'm gonna fuck her name up. she's a legit shoot fighter. Like, she legitimately fought in the UFC. She's fought in MMA. She's really going to rip somebody's arm off if they don't behave. And I'm excited by that. I just want to see what they're going to do next with it. And what the shit are they doing with Dolph Ziggler? He hates the fans now, and he's going to be a heel again. I don't know what to think. I like Dolph. I think he's really, really fucking good. But I also think they don't know what to do with him. I don't think he knows what to do with himself. You can't be the next Shawn Michaels. That's not going to work. They got to do something. And I'm ready for that. I'm ready for whatever the hell they're going to do. And if he leaves, good for him. Maybe going somewhere else and figuring out who you want to be instead of what they want you to be. Get rid of that fucking name, maybe. I don't know. You're going to have to do something. And I know I've jumped around a lot, people. It's tough bouncing off ideas off of my brain. My brain's going 100 miles an hour. I'm thinking about everything. I have horrible ADD. I'm constantly looking around the room, reading stuff that I'm looking at, and makes me forget people's names. And I'm just bouncing around, bouncing it off my head. Next time, Jerry will be here, and maybe it will be a little bit more exciting. My opinion is my opinion. You can disagree with me. I know a lot of people think I'm kind of harsh on certain characters. I know we make the joke every week about Baron Corbin, but he's getting buried. They're not doing anything with him. They just keep burying that dude. Every week he's losing another hair. So I guess they're counting down to the days until he's bald. I don't know. And then they'll cut him. I have no clue. But that's all I have to say about wrestling. In the next segment, I'm going to be talking to my stepbrother, Kyle, Mr. Broduer. And we'll be talking about, I finally broke down and watched a movie. And I'll be talking about it with him and what he likes about this character and how he feels about the on-screen portrayals of him and what he actually thinks of the character. It's his favorite Marvel character, I believe. I'm basing it on my memory. That's his favorite character. But we'll be talking to him in...
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
So as I said, I have a little special guest this week. My stepbrother, Kyle Broduer. Mr. Broduer, how you doing?
Hello.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm excited about this. I haven't done anything like this in a while, and it's going to be cool.
We get to talk about your, I feel is your favorite character, besides the Punisher, your favorite character, Spider-Man.
He's my all-time favorite. Easy. Not even, there's other, I have top 5, but he always makes my number 1. Been reading Spider-Man comics since I was pretty much old enough to read, so, which is real young. So, yeah, love him.
Yeah. See, now me, I never really read the Spider-Man comics. I know, obviously, Todd McFarlane was a great artist for him. I don't know a ton about him. I go based upon what you've told me. We've had discussions before about the movies, and I think we've watched a couple of them together, and all our complaints on them. But I wanted to get that on there. I want to talk to you about that because I finally stopped dragging my feet. Finally watched the new one. Not that I was worried about it, because I liked him in Civil War, which we'll talk about later. But I liked the idea of it. But then I had so much going on in my life between work, football season started again. It's just, there's a lot going on. But so just a quick idea. Who's so far your favorite Spider-Man? On-screen Spider-Man.
I gotta tell you, it always was before this Toby Maguire. I thought Toby Maguire captured the essence of what Spider-Man really is as both Peter Parker and Spider-Man really, really well. And to this point, I had thought he was the perfect one because he had the awkwardness, and then he had kind of like the reluctant being a hero, and like you saw some of like the joy that Spider-Man had when he first discovered his powers, which I thought was really cool. However, Tom Holland, man, he really surprised me, and I like that they did young Spider-Man just starting out. You know, this is the very beginning of his career, which I really liked, and it took it back to more of, you know, an innocent time, and you have Peter Parker as a young kid who you can already see that he's this brilliant guy, you know, builds the web shooters himself, which is something that they never got into in the Tobey Maguire movies, which I really, that was one of my big faults with them, was that's the big thing about how you see how smart he really is that in the Marvel universe, it's not, you know, everybody who reads comics talks about, you know, who's the smartest person. Now, everyone who knows anything it's easy because it's Reed Richards, because anybody who knows Fantastic Four, Reed Richards is like the smartest dude that has ever lived in comics. Like, he's just pretty much, if you need a solution to a problem, it's like, well, what are we going to do with, we got to beat Dr. Doom. Okay, let's go get Reed Richards. He'll have a solution somehow. You know what I mean? But Spider-Man is always one of those guys that is kind of there too. And Tony Stark does, you know, in the comics, that is true. You know, they did a good thing. The thing I liked about the new movie is Tony Stark does take Peter Parker under his wing in the comics as well, kind of recognizing his genius and saying, okay, this kid's got a future, also knowing he's Spider-Man, but wants to help him out as Peter Parker as well, realizing this kid's really, really smart. Let's see what he can do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I will say is, I would have to say at this point, after this newest movie, Tom Holland definitely takes my spot, though, for the newest Spider-Man, for the best Spider-Man on screen. I got to give it to him, man. He has the kind of reverence as Spider-Man that I like, and he makes the jokes, and, you know, and that was something that I thought was kind of sorely lacking in the other movies. Like Tobey Maguire did it a little bit, but he was better as Peter Parker. Like, he had that awkwardness and kind of like life's always going bad for Peter Parker, which I like. It's like a normal. The greatest thing, I'll tell you, and I remember we've talked about, you know, to the people who are listening out there, hopefully a bunch. Me and you have talked about many times favorite characters, and I know you're a big Thor fan. And I've always said to you, Spider-Man, the reason is, for me, is I think as far as characters go, they got it right so well with Spider-Man, in the fact that he's just a normal dude, and he's an outcast, which is even more interesting because how many of us are in our lives had that experience? I mean, it's very hard for me to relate to someone like Batman or Superman, because I'm not a freaking alien who has super strength, who's basically, you know, super Jesus. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a rich billionaire who lost his parents, who has everything and decides to go on a crusade with all his money to stop crime. I mean, obviously these are very simplified versions of these characters, and I love, let me just say, everybody, I love Batman. I'm a big Batman fan, but he is not relatable to me like Spider-Man is, who's a kid from Queens, man, who gets picked on and, like, gets bullied and is, like, you know, gets made fun of and doesn't get the girl. And, you know, oftentimes, you know, loses his job and misses the subway and, you know, all these, like, normal things that happen to people which they can say, "Oh man, I've been there," you know.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say about Tom Holland is the fact that he, like you were saying, like he, as Spider-Man is relatable and like he's an outcast and this and that. The thing I've taken away from him is he's not Toby Maguire that looks like a fucking bodybuilder, 25-year-old going to high school. And and what was it? And Garfield there, he looked like an emo version of Spider-Man.
Yes.
So I think that's the issue between those two, and I agree. I think Tom Holland is the best on-screen Spider-Man, and if I would go with like my second favorite, it would probably be like the animated version, just because I don't like either one of the other two. But
I love the 90s Fox animated cartoon, man. I still watch that every now and then. Like I got that on my computer and my Xbox. I watch that all the time.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. I watch it on Hulu. Yeah, I watch it on Hulu. So I mean, we can talk about like Toby Maguire, 2002 Spider-Man.
Sure.
So he had to share the screen with Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin.
Yes.
What did you think of that version of Green Goblin?
I thought that the casting was great. I think that Willem Dafoe is, if you're going to pick anybody who's going to seem kind of unhinged, it's Willem Dafoe.
No, he's great. He's amazing.
I'm a fan. I am a big Willem Dafoe fan. But he definitely has that quality of a guy who could go crazy and just start murdering. And him as Norman Osborn, I thought was fantastic because he had that type of A1 personality of, you know, I'm going to get this done no matter what, and then goes crazy and, you know, yada, yada, yada. My main issue with that, you know, the unfortunate thing about movies that were made 10, 15 years ago is the special effects have taken such a leap and things have changed so much in that time that if you take a movie like that was made now, it would have been so much better. It's not even, there's no way to even judge it because it would, I mean, the suit, the Green Goblin suit was so bad. And I know you know what I'm talking about.
You didn't love the helmet? Yeah, you didn't love the helmet?
No! It's all bad, dude. It's like, and, I mean, it's sad because some of the fight scenes were awesome. Like, I liked, like, that fighting in that, like, when they were in the, I don't know what it was, they almost got bell towers thing with all the wood, and he's throwing the bats at him, and he's getting all cut up, and, I liked that fight scene. I liked, a lot of the lines, and, like, the things that, like, the Green Goblin would say, and, like, and he definitely had the voice as I pictured it in my head. I mean, I don't know how you get something like that right, but Willem Dafoe definitely did a great job because he had that kind of like high, screechy voice when he was as the Goblin, which is what I always pictured was that yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I just think he does everything right.
Yeah.
No, so the other thing that I remember about the movie that like, because part of this podcast is about wrestling, is the Macho Man Randy Savage playing Bonesaw McGraw.
Yes.
Like, once again, it's an origin story to like how he became Spider-Man and like what, you know, his uncle dying and all that stuff. But yeah, no, I remember that and just going, is that fucking Macho Man? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is. So, yeah, it's just amazing that he made an appearance. I think that movie, for what it was good. I think it's a little tough. Like you said, time has not done it any favors. But it is what it is. And,
Well,
go ahead.
I tell you, Aaron, it hasn't, but I still can watch. I'll tell you what. Not the third movie, because we're not even going to bring up the third movie, because it's
Oh, I'm gonna.
Oh, as far as I'm concerned, the third movie doesn't exist. I just erased it from my brain. The first two movies I still love, and in fact, the second one I still think holds up great because I thought that the Doctor Octopus thing, everything. I loved the second movie. Like I thought it was absolutely fantastic, way better than the first one.
Yeah. So 2004, Spider-Man 2. What's his name? Alfred Molino.
Yep.
Plays Doc Ock. Like I love that. I love that.
Fantastic, right?
Yeah. No. I think that's the best one out of the three.
Yes, and but that still holds the test of time. And I'll say this, man. You know, I love Sam Raimi, and if anybody doesn't know some of Sam Raimi's awesome credits, and one of the greatest credits is if you have never seen Evil Dead or Army of Darkness, see them. That's Sam Raimi. It's literally his beginning of his career. Which is why Bruce Campbell is in all of Sam Raimi's movies. He was the announcer in Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie.
Yep.
And he was in number 2, he was the doorman at the theater when Peter Parker goes there to see Mary Jane's show.
And he won't let him in.
And he won't let him in.
Yeah.
Which, let me just say, those cameos by the great Bruce Campbell, as far as I love Bruce Campbell, are enough for me to watch those movies again just for those cameos because they are fantastic. Because Bruce Campbell is, I bow to him basically. He has no equal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. No, and that was a great movie. I just think once again, people watching it, and then also like James Franco getting I feel like a little bit more of a role-ish.
Yes.
And how that leads into the third one is a little interesting.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man 3, 2007. 2007. So 10 years ago, you have obviously James Franco is the new Green Goblin. Eddie Brock Venom, played by Topher Grace, which I love that 70s show, but Topher fucking Grace as Venom, as Eddie Brock, like, come on. Yeah. And then obviously Sandman Flint Marco, played by Thomas Hayden Church.
Yes.
Which the movie that you turned me on to, which makes me like look back and when I see a movie with him in it, I'm like, oh my god, that's the guy from Sideways.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Another great movie, he's a good actor.
I love Thomas Hayden Church. Actually, Thomas Hayden Church is in another of a movie I know you like. It's one of his first movies. He's also in Tombstone.
Yes.
He's the guy who's sitting there talking to Doc Holliday, where it's like, don't you know any? And he's like, what does he want to hear? Camptown Ladies and all that, and Stephen Foster, and he's like, oh, this is Frederick fucking Chopin. I tell you, man, and he has the great scene in that movie, one of my favorite scenes, where he's like, drunk piano player, you're probably seeing two of me, and pulls out a knife. And Val Kilmer, which this is off the topic, but I gotta say this because Val Kilmer I have undying love for, and especially he is the best Doc Holliday there will ever be, is in the great scene, pulls out two guns and says, I've got two guns, one for each of you.
Yeah.
That was Thomas Hayden Church, one of his first movies.
Am I going out on a limb and saying he might be the best Batman ever?
Okay, you're hilarious. You're like, am I stretching? Just a little bit?
Just a little bit. But the greatness, which was Spider-Man 3, there were actual plans, and I've been looking it up, in preparation for doing this with you, is There were plans for a 4th and a 5th.
Yes.
That's scary.
Well, there were until that movie came out.
Yeah.
It was so bad. And that's the sad thing is, that movie essentially killed that run of Spider-Man movies, which I think if that one hadn't been so bad, if they had done it right, like if, considering how good number 2 was, if they had followed up the 3rd and it had been at least as good as number 2, I kind of want to see what would have happened there. Because number 2 was fantastic. And for them to follow number 2, which I was like, oh man, they're really taking this somewhere. Like, this is going to be something special. Like, I was getting real excited as a Spider-Man fan. I was like, I like the way they're going here. You know what I mean? I like the cut of their jib, you know? And then the 3rd one, I'm just like, no. You know? So, unfortunately, it's one of those situations where one bad movie ruined a whole franchise, which has happened before, and I'm sure will happen again, unfortunately, because it's Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't love it when Symbiote attached himself to Peter Parker and he was walking down the streets winking at chicks and like going to the club and dancing and singing.
His dance contest thing?
Yeah. That didn't get your motor turning.
Oh no, I didn't like it.
No.
It was you brought up a good thing also is, here's the thing, man. The funny thing about that movie is, before I saw it, I saw none of the trailers. So it was one of those things where I actually went into that movie completely blind and did not know really much of the casting, other than I knew Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman, which, to be fair, if they had taken that movie and they had based it mainly on Sandman, I think that would have been a really, really good movie, because he was good. Like, him as Sandman was actually fantastic. I thought he was great. Like, there was nothing, I had no problems with him as Sandman at all. Like, I thought he was actually pretty much perfect casting. It was the problem with that movie is they tried to do 9 stories in one movie. It was the same problem that we will talk about in a bit that Amazing Spider-Man 2 had, where they tried to put way too many stories into one movie. And that's the problem a lot of these movies go with is, if you focus on one story, you're usually good. But if you try and bring in 9 characters and do every story at once, it's just going to become jumbled, and you're not going to have enough time for any real character development, and it's just going to be a bunch of fight scenes that nobody cares about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think the issue was come on. I mean, the real issue with the movie is Topher Grace as fucking Eddie Brock.
Yeah, see, when I actually saw the movie, and they're introducing the characters, and it's like, he's Eddie Brock, and I'm like, wait. Like, who? Like, that was one of those things where I kind of want to be like, listen, let's be honest here. Who is Topher Grace related to in this that's making this movie? Like, cause come on. You're telling me that that no one involved with this movie read a comic book and saw what Eddie Brock's actually supposed to look like? Because Eddie Brock is pretty much like 10 Topher Graces in size. He's a big dude. He's a guy who literally, after Spider-Man and Peter Parker pretty much ruined his life, he spent all his time in his little apartment working out, bench pressing like 450. Like, he's a freaking giant, which is the reason why his additional strength as a regular human being is the reason why, in addition to the symbiote having all Spider-Man's powers, when it bonds with somebody, it improves what they already are. Which is why Spider-Man was stronger, had different abilities when he had the symbiote. When Eddie Brock becomes Venom, he's much stronger than Spider-Man, because he already is a giant dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think what happened was somebody watched that 70s show, saw Eric be a huge fan of comics and reading comics, and a huge fan of like Star Wars, which I'm waiting for that next. He's going to be in a Star Wars movie.
You think?
oh, somebody's going to see him on screen, rewatching that on Netflix or Hulu or wherever the hell they're going to stream it, and they're going to go, he could do it. And I think that's what happened, is that they saw him on that show have some, a little bit of charisma and also some knowledge about comics. I bet you he does have knowledge on comics, and that's probably how he sold him on the part.
Okay.
Still doesn't give him the right to be this massive character, but I feel like that's what probably happened.
Well, don't you feel like he kind of also worked them a little bit? Because, like, if he does know the comics, like, he knows, like, what Venom looks like and stuff, he's probably like, listen, in his mind, this is his conversation, his internal monologue, is like, all right, these fuckers don't know anything about comic books. They don't know that Venom's, like, 6'3", freaking 280. I'm just going to lie my ass off here so I can play the character. You know what I mean? Because that's the only thing I can think of is that how he would possibly, because there's no way he's actually going to sell it as like, oh, hey, let's make Venom like a really small, goofy-looking dude and who just looks like a black Spider-Man, basically, when he turns into Venom. Because that was the worst thing is like, in that fight, when you're watching them fight, I'm just like, dude, he just looks like Black Spider-Man. Like, this is stupid. You know what I mean? Like, this.
Yeah, no, he's supposed to tower over Spider-Man.
Well, I'll tell you. And this is one of the side movies that they're making. And I don't know if you know about this, but the Venom movie, Tom Hardy.
He's
a little excited.
I'm excited because he has the physical build, but you're gonna have this. You're gonna have the same problems you had with Batman. With Dark Knight Rises, is that he's only 5'9".
True.
So he's not 6'3", like you were saying before. I think a perfect guy for like that part. I mean, it's tough to go through like actors and stuff like that. But I mean, John Cena.
Yeah, except John Cena's not the greatest actor in the world.
No.
I saw The Marine.
Okay. All right, but that once again, that's like 10 years ago.
Well,
and
I know.
He has a huge role in the upcoming Transformers movie.
Does he?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
So he could do it. So all right, let's not waste any more time on Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
We can agree that it was not good.
I agree with that. It was awful.
Amazing. So 2000. So you went from 2007 to 2012. They try to reboot the Amazing Spider-Man. We're gonna get Amazing Spider-Man. It's gonna be Andrew Garfield. He's younger. He's not, and he's not as built. He's a little bit thinner.
Sure.
Emo Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yeah. The best part of that movie was Dennis Leary, but I don't even want to say Dennis. And Dennis Leary wasn't great either. So I mean, it's just tough. That's another movie for me. Like, I love what's his name that plays the Lizard, Dr. Connors. Was it Reyes Ifans or whatever? I don't know how to pronounce his name.
I can't think of the guy's name, but he's good.
He's been in so much that I just love.
Yes.
And he was in the movie The Replacements. He's the kicker.
Yes.
So like he plays that. He's very good at comics, comedic roles. This is a very serious role for him. He wasn't bad. I thought for the most part the movie wasn't horrible, but it was not what I thought it was going to be.
Well, okay. Here's the thing, and I've frequently had this conversation. I've written movie reviews about it, and I've talked about this extensively because those movies really bothered me for a couple reasons. The big thing is, okay, as much as I can see how the new movie is they're using some influences from the Ultimate Universe of Marvel. The Amazing Spider-Man was really based on, like, it was a lot of it that was just literally from Ultimate Spider-Man. Now, I know you haven't read the comics, but Ultimate Spider-Man's like a separate universe. And the thing is, I'm not a big fan of the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. I have them. I've read them just because of being a fan. I feel like I had to. Still not a big fan. It's a lot of changes. It's younger Spider-Man. They took a lot of the villain stories and kind of mixed them up a bit, and did things with them that I wasn't really a big fan of. Like, for example, the Rhino in number 2, like the whole big suit thing, the freaking whatever that contraption was, that big Rhino machine, mech suit basically is what it was.
Yep.
That was from Ultimate Spider-Man, which I hated, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. I hated they changed that character that way.
Which Spider-Man comic series is the one where they actually don't they remove Peter's brain?
No, I think you're thinking of. Are you thinking of Superior Spider-Man, where he dies and Doc Ock takes over his body, basically?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, what happens is basically Doc Ock devises a way where he kills Spider-Man and takes over his body, and Spider-Man is basically a ghost at one point. Like, it's the best way. Some people like Superior Spider-Man because they think it's kind of like an interesting idea. I'm kind of half and half on it. At first, I really hated it, and then I read it more, and I'm like, I can see where they were trying to go. I think it's completely weird, and it was kind of out of control. But it was also kind of interesting to see Doc Ock take over Spider-Man's life, and he actually kind of did a good job, which was the weird thing, is like Doc Ock as Spider-Man, he was like a more brutal Spider-Man, like he kind of like beat the shit out of people and killed them and stuff, but he actually like stopped crime, and he actually did not a bad job. Like, he beat some pretty serious supervillains. Like, he actually did quite a decent job. But the whole premise of it, him as a ghost stuff, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, but then but if they make that into a movie, come on. Like, I know he's dead, but like, you get some Swayze action going on there, some ghost action. Like, I'm just saying.
Have the Righteous Brothers playing when they're both molding the pottery with the four,
Yes, I can see it now.
I think I'd actually pay to see that movie. Like, just for that scene, if we could like be creatively involved in Big Listen, all you have to do is just remake the ghost scene at one point, and people would just love this. They're like, we will love it. I don't know about everybody else, but we will. We're your target audience. Right, I mean, here.
Exactly. That's I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna pay my money.
Right.
So, what did you think of the first Amazing Spider-Man?
Kind of in the same boat as you, as there was very few things that I did like. I'm almost the way I look at it is the best thing I look at. I say this movie is, this is going to sound messed up, but it's kind of the truth is, I always joke that I've said it to people like, what do you like about the movie? And I'm like, well, Emma Stone's pretty hot. I hate to say that, but that's like the best thing I can really come out of there, because like, I didn't like emo Spider-Man at all. I didn't like how he's just skateboarding punk and he's all boo, and all I can picture is him in his room listening to My Chemical Romance, and it's just like, come on, man, like, this isn't who Spider-Man is. Like,
yeah.
It was a time where, that time period in movies was really interesting in a bad way, because it was the time where people were like, hey, making characters dark is really popular, and sometimes people seem to like it. Let's do that when Spider-Man. Now, I kind of want to meet the junior producer, whoever said that, and punch him right squarely in the face piece, because obviously that dude has never read a comic book, or shit, I almost want to say he's never read anything, like, other than, like, Variety magazine or something, you know what I mean, to check the movies, the box scores, in the movies, because my God, man, you're taking a character who his very essence is based on being awkward and having this kind of, optimism, but optimism that's checked by the fact that things do go wrong for him. Do you know what I mean? But it's not. He's not dark and depressed, and you know what I mean. And the fact that they're gonna make him like that right off the bat is really a waste, because the best. It's not like there's never been a Spider-Man story in the comics where he's gone to a dark place. There has, but when that happened, there were severe catalysts that caused him to be like that. And it was literally when we were talking about things where his entire life was ripped apart before Peter Parker gets to a point where he's like, I'm just gonna whoop some ass and I'm out for blood. Do you know what I mean? Because he doesn't get like that. You know what I mean? That's the great thing about Spider-Man, is you can always count on him to. You're in a bad situation, he'll make a joke. You know what I mean? And he's the guy that kind of like keeps the other heroes kind of a little grounded and like realizing that like, look what we do for a living. Look what, we save the world regularly. If you can't make a joke and appreciate that, you're not doing it right,
Yeah, no, and I think what they did with this movie is they go, okay, what was great? The only thing great about the last movie we made about Spider-Man, Sandman, because he's a character he is a bad guy, but you can kind of have a little sympathy for him. And I feel like that's what they did with the Lizard. The Lizard is he can't control it once he turns into the Lizard.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they were trying to capitalize on. Like, oh, it's a villain you can like still have a connection, a sympathy for.
Well, I don't mind that, because that's the thing. Is the Lizard always that was kind of like the great thing about the Lizard that I always liked as a character, is I don't even know, like, I always thought the Lizard was one of those characters where it's almost hard to call him a villain, because the Lizard personality is a villain, because he's out of control and he wants to murder and he's bloodthirsty and blah, blah, blah. And, in certain stories he wants to turn everyone else into lizards and, bad things.
But Kurt Connors isn't.
Absolutely. Kurt Connors, and especially in the comics, and they did a pretty decent job when kind of doing that in the movie, is they go more into the comics. Is in the comics he lost his arm. The interesting story about how he lost his arm is, in the comics he was a Vietnam combat medic. He was like a doctor who volunteered to go to Vietnam because he had medical experience and he wanted to help people. Went to Vietnam, got his arm blown up or something. His arm got amputated, and when he came back, obviously continued his became world-renowned biologist and was doing all the studies with lizards, because he wanted to both help people, because he wanted to help other vets and help people who had amputations, and he wanted to do it for himself as well. But he was this guy who did want to help the world. It wasn't just like a selfish end. He really thought, hey, if I experiment with this, I'll try it on myself first. If it works, I can help the entire world, and all the amputees in the world would never have to have these problems anymore. People can walk again, and people can, good times and balloons and candy for everybody, basically, right? Of course, it did not work out that way, and he became this monster lizard. You know what I mean? But, in the comics, him and Kurt Connors are friends. Kurt Connors is Peter Parker's mentor. He was his college professor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But yeah, no. So they at least show I feel like is the comic version of Flash Thompson as well. He's
oh yes,
he's like the high school bully that picks on him and stuff like that.
I tell you, Flash Thompson's kind of an interesting character because he's grown so much over the years. He kind of started out as this very kind of cliched Archie comic style bully character where it's just like, you know, let's get Archie and Jughead type. You know what I mean? Like, just this very, like, what you would expect of, like, this bully character in a high school. That's the way he started out. However, he kind of matured, and in the comics lately, he's actually kind of, at least the last one, I don't know if this is going on now, but for a while, he actually became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Venom. Like, the symbiote bonded to him, but he was a good guy. He became, like, a special agent for S.H.I.E.L.D. and did missions and stuff.
Agent Venom.
Yeah, and he actually has become kind of like a really interesting character because through the comics, they kind of actually, him and Peter become friends. Because after he gets out, they get out of high school and they're in college and stuff, they have mutual friends because him and Harry, Flash is Harry's like best friend and Peter Parker's like his other best friend. So they end up kind of getting thrown together, and then, you know, the ties keep gathering because at one point Flash is going out with Felicia Hardy for a while, which is, of course, you know, the Black Cat, Spider-Man's ex.
Mm-hmm.
So they have all these connections. I don't think they've really ever done a good job with his character in the movie because it's kind of like, they've kind of just been like, oh, Flash Thompson, he's the guy who hates Peter Parker, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I kind of wish they'd be more, and they only do it for one movie, and then that's it. You know what I mean?
Which, you know, we haven't seen the new, like, what's going to happen, the sequel to the most recent movie, but there's a possibility of, like you're saying, they could actually build upon that.
I would like it, except I thought the dude who they had as Flash Thompson was like, I don't know, man. It's kind of weird to picture him as a brainy character in any way because he's just not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the part that was kind of hard to swallow because he's always been this kind of like brains you know, brawn over brains type of guy.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we hit that movie.
Sure.
So Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
You know how you didn't want to talk about Spider-Man 3? That's how I feel about this movie. It was awful. Like, god-awful. I just want to hear, like, you try to defend this movie.
No, I wouldn't. I thought it was awful. I just don't know. I don't know if it's Peter Parker going down the streets dancing and doing dance moves and having a cowl that somehow denotes that he's evil bad. Because that, my friend, was bad. It's hard for me. Like, for me, that's my... Spider-Man 3 is my pinnacle of a bad movie. Like, as far as the Spider-Man movies go. I did not like Amazing Spider-Man 2. I thought it was a bad movie for sure. I agree with you on that. I don't know if it was I don't know if I can put it as bad as just the number of awful things that were wrong with the shit show that was Spider-Man 3. I mean, like, there was just... I mean, between Topher Grace and the dancing Peter Parker, and, you know, it was just awful. And I mean, granted, Amazing Spider-Man 2, didn't like it, I hated it, but I don't know, man, I thought it was more of, the reason that suffered a lot is more of, they tried to do too many things. I think there were things that would have been good on their own, if they had changed certain things. Like, I'll tell you this. I liked the idea of... I'll say this. That was another movie where there were certain casting things that I actually liked. Like, I loved the idea of Jamie Foxx as Max Dillon, as Electro. I actually thought that was interesting casting because I liked that he's just this kind of guy who's like a fan of Spider-Man. He's very dorky, and, you know, and then he gets these powers and goes crazy a little bit. I liked that. I just think they didn't really go anywhere with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think if I'm going to be completely honest with myself, I've watched Spider-Man 3 probably way more times than I should have.
No!
But I refuse to rewatch Amazing Spider-Man 2. I refuse to watch. I can't watch it again. I feel that that's the worst Spider-Man movie they've ever made.
Wow.
Yeah, I just can't. You can't. I mean, you'd have to Clockwork Orange me, tie me down, open my eyelids. Yeah, that's the only way I'm watching that movie again. Like, as much as I want to defend Jamie Foxx, I think he's a great actor. I think he's a funny dude, and very talented. Not in that movie. Like, I just think that movie. I think he was doomed to fail. I think the movie was horrible.
Yeah.
And once again, emo Spider-Man doesn't help.
You know what? The worst, probably the thing about that movie, those movies that really kind of bothered me the most is, when I heard Andrew Garfield was going to do it, at first I was like, the dude from the Social Network? I'm like, that guy's a good actor. I like him. And when I read more into him, he's actually like a really huge like Spider-Man fan. Like he really big into the comics, like loves the comics. So I was kind of excited about that because I'm like, well, if he's involved and he loves comics, these might be some really good movies because he might want to make sure it gets done right. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Not knowing, now, that's the part of me that's all joyous thinking about that, not realizing that in the end, it doesn't matter what he likes because Mark Webb's the director. And Andrew Garfield can want everything he wants to get done right, but if Mark Webb's like, listen, bitch, I'm directing this. I don't care what you think is going on. This is the way we're doing it. You know what I mean? So, in my situation, I look at those movies and I think more of the blame lies on Mark Webb than anything else. You know what I mean? Because I think there were a lot of things that were done wrong that could have been done better with better direction, with better writing. There's a lot of things that were mistakes that were made on the production end and that end rather than the acting end. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. Like, I think that's my point, is I think they have, up until that point, they just hadn't figured out how to execute a movie. Like, I think they were so worried about making number 3, they just basically shit the bed. That's the way I viewed it.
No, I agree.
Alright, so once we passed the emo Spider-Man, we've actually gotten, I feel is, like you said, the best Spider-Man so far on screen is Tom Holland. Now, from what I understood, he's actually around the age group that he's supposed to be. Like, this isn't like a 20-something-year-old trying to play a high school student.
No, I think he's like 19 or 20 years old.
Is he?
He's young.
Well, I know, but like he's actually like in that age range. Like when they first casted him, he was like 17.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, I would have to look up his actual age, but I know that he's fairly young. I mean, he's definitely. I want to say Toby Maguire was 26 or something when he did Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's 21 right now.
Okay.
Which, when the movie would have been filmed, he would have been around 19.
Yeah, but he made his first. I mean, he made. All right, so
When he did Civil War, he would have been younger.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So when we first saw him on screen was in Civil War.
Yes.
Tony Stark comes to him, and that's probably one of the best scenes in that movie for comedic purposes because of like the suit being hidden and like talking to him about the web shooters and stuff like, and just like watching them back and forth is actually really intriguing to me to see just that back and forth and him being called to help Iron Man stop Captain America. What was your first impression in that movie? Other than you really wanted to hang out with his aunt, like, cause I would never leave home.
Oh, Marissa Tomei. Yeah, she still looks good. That's you want to talk about a miracle of aging, man. She's got to be 50 or something, and she looks fantastic. But no, what I will say on a serious note is, I tell you, when I first heard the rumors that they were going to do that, Fox was going to actually agree to combine the universes kind of and like make a movie with Marvel Studios, I was so psyched because this is something that I've been wanting, that I've said for a while, is because of the quality of how good the Marvel movies have been. I've always kind of wondered why the other studios weren't like, listen, these guys are making all of the money. Like, if you just want to view it from a money standpoint, I was surprised that one of the producers over there wasn't just like, look at Marvel. Like, every time they have a movie come out, it makes $1 billion. Like, maybe we should get in on this action with them. They'll show us the secret formula, and we got a deal. You know what I mean? Like, because granted, the X-Men movie have done well, but they haven't done Marvel movie well. Do you know what I mean? The Fantastic Four movies have done terrible, and then once you have the Spider-Man Homecoming game go together with Marvel Studios, guess what? Made a ton of money. Biggest movie of the summer. So, I don't know, man. I think that's something they should all look into. And now, going back to the original point, which I forgot what the question was that you asked me.
What did you think of his cameo? What did you think of his cameo? Like, your first impressions of
his first
of
cameo
him?
was great because I loved how it started out with just Queens, and that moment to me when I was watching Civil War, I remember just getting like, I had the giggles, man. Like I was like a little kid again because I just like when it just flashed up Queen and was like, because I knew it, and I have no shame about that, man. I'm a grown, 35-year-old man. I got no shame that I had the giggles there because I was really excited that they were going to do this. And when he actually came on screen and you had the back and forth between him and Tony, it was so natural. And I could not have. There's no way my expectations could have been met as good as they were because I did not think you were going to have that good of an embodiment of him, and just the ebb and flow between him and Tony and their conversation is so fantastic. And it's one of the things that made the Spider-Man Homecoming great is because you just had this back and forth with him and Tony where it's like, it seems like they've been doing that for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I see. My envision of you being in the theater is almost like an impression of like how Kevin Smith says, like when he gets really excited about something. I can just picture you because you look similar to him. I can picture you just sitting there in the theater and just being like, I went to a midday showing. There's not a lot of people in here, and just slowly move your pants down and being like, I mean, when in Rome. Just being so happy that you're just, supporting wood that, like, could chisel granite. Just that excited to see, like, an actual Spider-Man that you don't want to, like, kind of gouge your eyes out when you're watching the movie.
Yeah.
And he was great. Like, his interactions with them and, like, how, like, at the end when he gets, like, finally get, like, they kind of get him and he can't really stop. And he's just like, they're like, all right, you're done. He's like, okay, like just like tired, like I'm a kid, like still a kid. I'm tired. Like, I'm gonna take a nap. I'll wake up on the plane.
Well, that was good. There was also, one of the great Spider-Man moments in that movie, and it was in Civil War was when they're having that whole big battle, and Ant-Man becomes Giant Man for a second there, and he's saying to Tony, he goes, you guys ever see that really old movie, The Empire Strikes Back? And Don Cheadle, in a just great moment, says, Tony, how old is this guy? All right, he's on the young side. You know what I mean?
Oh man, like those are the things that you love. That makes things worth watching.
Yeah, and the whole, I mean, just like his interactions with the other characters, and like when he's fighting the Winter Soldier and the Falcon, and he just has so many great moments where when I first saw that movie, I'm like, they finally got it right, because this is something a young Spider-Man would do. Like, if he's fighting a guy with a metal arm, he would say, like, holy crap, you have a metal arm, that's all, you know what I mean? Because he's 16 years old, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If I have superpowers and I'm fighting a dude and he's got a metal arm, I'm probably saying that, you know what I mean? I'm being like, holy crap, dude, that's awesome, you know?
Oh, yeah. And, so to get into the whole reason why we're doing this is they finally did a full movie with them. Spider-Man Homecoming came out this year.
Yes.
I finally watched it to play on the whole thing with kind of like to remind you of, hey, he was in Civil War. Remember when he did this? Like the little like a normal high schooler right now that videotapes everything.
Yes.
Documents everything. And I love the fact that Jon Favreau is still in these. Like, he still makes his little appearances.
Yep.
And he finally got like a little bit more of a role in this movie with, you know, playing Happy again. And I love Jon Favreau. Just to see their interactions between one another is great as well.
Well, you know, Jon Favreau, of course, is at this point, by pretty much anyone who loves comics and loves the Marvel movies, is pretty much considered royalty. And like, anytime he is in a movie, people get excited because of the fact that, I mean, he brought us Iron Man, the first Iron Man, the movie that started this whole Marvel craze. I mean,
I think he did 1 and 2.
He did 1 and 2. But his crowning achievement is the one.
Yeah, to start everything. Yeah, he kickstarted everything. Yeah.
And not to mention the fact that many people, myself probably included, think it's still probably the best one. I mean, it's hard because there have been some real good ones since then. But original Iron Man still holds up, man. I still can go back and watch that movie and go, this was done really well. Like, I mean, the fact that I almost want to wonder, what's funny is knowing a little bit about the making of the movie and having watched the special features is, I know this is off topic, I just got to mention this because once Iron Man's in the conversation, I got to throw this in there, is Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., wasn't the first choice. It was kind of like, he was the first choice of Jon Favreau, but he wasn't the first choice of the studio. The studio, in fact, were like, dude, we can't even insure this guy. Like, he's got the past history with the drugs. He was in jail. Like, we don't know if we can get him insurance. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's a big risk. But Jon Favreau was like, dude, I'm telling you, he is this character. Like, he's going to nail it. And if you ever watch his original auditions, you know right then, dude, you're like, wow. I don't know how they could have got, like, in my mind, that is one of the best performances and times where a character and an actor have met and have been in sync in a long time. Like, I cannot picture anyone else being Iron Man. That is how, it's kind of sad, because eventually he's going to stop making those movies. And I don't know what they're going to do, because, you know, he's that good. Right?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to have to be a different Iron Man. It can't be
Yeah.
Tony Stark, because that's who we're always going to see.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of the movie? What did you think of Homecoming? Once I saw it, I was like, oh, the name makes sense. He was at a homecoming dance. Like, it makes sense. Like, okay. I like that. I like movies that have a little bit of wordplay.
Yep.
What was your impression of Michael Keaton as the Vulture?
Oh, I love it. I'm a big Michael Keaton fan from way back. One of my mom's favorite actors. Grew up watching, 1989 Batman, Batman Returns. Seen pretty much almost all of Michael Keaton's movies. Probably like really Mr. Mom. I mean, I've seen movies people don't even remember that he was in. Like, I love Michael Keaton.
What was that movie where he like cloned himself? Isn't that Duplicate?
Multiplicity, man.
Multiplicity. There you go.
I love Multiplicity, dude. That guy, I tell you, man. It's funny, because I remember when people were talking about him being in that movie, and I had a lot of people I was talking to and friends who were like, "You think he can pull off like a bad guy?" And I said, "You know what's funny?" I said he did a movie, probably like I can't think of how long ago it was, but it was a movie with him and Andy Garcia, where he played a criminal who was like a serial killer, like evil guy, who he was giving a kidney to Andy Garcia's son, and he kind of like plans an escape from the hospital
I remember that movie. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That movie is awesome, dude.
Yeah, and he's a conniving fuck. He really is.
And I remember thinking, I told him, I'm like, listen, man, I can't tell you the name of the movie, but he was in this movie, and I know that he can do sinister and evil because of that fucking movie, dude. Like, if you saw this movie, especially when you see the end of it, you're like, oh. So, knowing that, going in with that knowledge, when I saw him in it and playing the Vulture, I thought he did a terrific job, man. I mean, like, he definitely has that kind of quiet, like, energy where, like, he can just, like, talk to you and be like, well, listen, here's the thing. If you mess with me, I'm going to kill you. You know what I mean? And when he says that line to him, it's just kind of like, you know?
Yeah, and I liked it. I thought he played well. I think the real, which should be the star of the show, was Tom Holland. I thought he was great as Spider-Man.
Yes.
And as Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And, like, he's not a big, very, like, bodybuilder type, and he's not really tall. Like, he's built like Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man, Spider-Man's not a big dude. He's
no.
Like, I mean, like, the funny thing, it's funny thing is he's not a short dude, even in the comics. Like, he's not tiny, because the joke, the big joke in the comics, what's really funny is, and it's something that no one ever got to see in X-Men movies, and it's sad because as much as I thought Hugh Jackman was great, and he embodied the spirit of Wolverine. Wolverine's ain't 6'1". Wolverine's like a 5-piece. He's tiny.
He's supposed to be like 5'4".
Dude, he's so small. Like, there's literally the comic books are full of jokes about Wolverine's height all the time. Like, if you read a comic book, they're making a joke about Wolverine's height. Usually not to him.
Yeah, well, they'd be afraid to. Yeah.
That's a bad idea. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm not really saying to the guy, who has got indestructible bones and can heal from any wound and has claws that come out of his hands, hey, shorty, that's probably a bad idea. That's not going to end well for you. You know what I mean? Not to mention he's got a bit of a temper, But people, that's the joke all the time is, I mean, Peter Parker's Spider-Man in the comics is probably 5'9", towers over Wolverine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they finally, I feel like they just finally did him right. I finally feel like they gave him, like you said, he makes little comments as he's doing stuff like, hey, you're the Avengers. Like, hey.
You're not the Avengers.
Yeah. Like, hey, you're not, stuff like that. Yeah. Just stuff like that. Like, just little nuggets that make you kind of like grin or at least giggle a little.
Yeah.
So to get to back to the point where we were talking about earlier about Flash Thompson, a whiny little emo kid. That, you know what I mean? Like, I was confused.
Yeah.
I was confused. I was like, this. I heard the name Flash, and I'm like, but wouldn't Flash, like, even if like it's a joke, wouldn't you expect, like, it's not like Little John where he's supposed to be like.
No.
He's Flash Thompson because he's supposed to be like, is that his real name, or is that like the nickname that people gave him, Flash?
No, it's his nickname.
So there you go. So if it's Flash is his nickname, what is he flashing in this movie other than his wit?
Yeah.
I mean, the ability to drive an Audi, and Peter Parker is horrible at. Like, I like that part. I like that part where he was horrible at driving. Like, that was pretty funny.
Well, I mean,
he's supposed to be a 15-year-old that doesn't know how to drive. Like, I get it. And he lives in New York City.
Well, where I think it was like the nickname was because he was a football player. And
exactly.
He was a running back or something, and he was really fast. And that was his high school nickname that pretty much stuck through his life. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I tell you, I know the comics really well. I can't remember his real first name. I want to say it's Henry, but I think I'm wrong there. Like, It's something like that. It's something like very simple. And I tell you, I remember lots of facts about comic books, but he's called Flash so often in the comic books that they never use his real name. That's it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree with you. When you had this guy who was just this, I don't know, man. Like, they almost kind of poised him as like this intellectual rival for Peter Parker, though he's not really. He's always like the second place guy. Like, he's the alternate. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say they kept making that joke. Well, you're the alternate. You're the alternate.
And the thing is it was one of those things where it almost was kind of like they reversed the roles, where it's like he's the guy who's kind of left in the dust, and so he's like, oh, Peter, what the heck? And it's kind of like, well, so the reason this guy is popular is because he's a DJ, and I don't know, man. Maybe times have changed. Maybe that's who's popular now. I don't know. Maybe we're just old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I genuinely feel that way. Like, they kind of made that joke in 22 Jump Street or 21 Jump Street, when like they're like he's supposed to be the jock and he's picking on all these nerdy guys and picking on the gay kids and shit like that. And then like everybody's like, no, they're the cool kids. He's like, what the hell happened? Like, and it's not saying that like that nobody can be cool. It's just times have changed.
Yeah.
He's gonna be in the new Avengers, Infinity Wars.
Okay.
What is he gonna do? Like, there's so much gonna be going on in that movie. I just don't want him to be like. I kind of want him to be the guy that, like, when everybody's on the screen fighting, he just kind of swings in, kicks somebody, and just goes woohoo, and like keeps moving on. Like, I kind of want that. Like, that will be good for me. I'll like that.
Well, I mean, they're going to have, I think they'd probably give him a pretty substantial role, just because, I mean, Spider-Man had a substantial role in the Infinity War in the comics. I mean, like, you know, it's not like he's going to be the one who kills Thanos or anything, because that doesn't happen, do you know what I mean? But, like, I definitely think they're going to give him some sort of, maybe even more of an important role than he had in Civil War. Just because it worked out so well in Civil War, that little cameo, that I think that it would make sense that they brought him in for more of a part now. You know what I mean? Even though, the funny thing is, if he does come in, it's not going to be as an Avenger, because, as you know, and I don't feel bad about spoiling at this point, because guess what, guys? It's been out for a while. See the movie. he turns down Tony when he offers him to join the Avengers at the end. So,
I was going to bring that up. What did you think of that?
well, I thought, the funny thing is he does join in the comics, but I like the idea that he's kind of like, you know what, I want to do my own thing. And not to mention, I get it, because Tony kind of like treated him like a kid, and he wants to like kind of branch out and show that, like, you know what, I can do this. Like, I beat the Vulture, man. You know what I mean? Like, if I can do that, I should kind of try and do this on my own and see where it goes from there. You know what I mean? Not to say that, obviously, because he's a hero, if Tony's like, listen, I know you're not part of the Avengers, but we need some help here, he's going to come on over, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you seen The Defenders yet?
Yeah.
Did you? Do you seen the whole thing?
I have.
Okay, so the only question I have is, in those Netflix series, even on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they acknowledge the movies, but the movies never acknowledge the shows.
That really bothers me.
I feel like he needs to make an appearance in Daredevil, or The Punisher would be cool.
Yeah.
He might, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to like be like, oh my god, like I don't know anything, but I think that could happen.
That would be awesome. Listen, man, I've been one of the biggest people for a while now. I don't understand why they don't acknowledge him. Because all it would take, dude, is just one of the characters name dropping it. You don't even have to put him in there. But just be like, the way that, like, they kind of, like, introduce Spider-Man, why can't they just name drop, like, yeah, you know, we got a lot of heroes in New York City. We got the blind guy, we got the, that's all they would have to do. And I would just be like, yeah! like, that would, like, well, except nobody knows Daredevil's blind, so I guess they can't really say that we got the blind guy. But I guess they would say we got the guy that dresses up like a devil. I don't know. They could do it somehow. Do you know what I mean? But, like, even if they did that, that would be enough for me to be like, okay, thank you. Because at least we now know it's all happening at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be good. I'm just overly excited. I think there's a lot of content coming, and I'm probably in like system overload with the simple fact that, like, you know, Star Wars is coming out this year. You know, there's Star Wars movie. Like, it's just Disney is doing no wrong right now.
Well, I tell you, this past year was pretty bonkers for Disney Marvel, because we had Doctor Strange, we had Spider-Man Homecoming, we have Thor Ragnarok in November.
Which I'm pumped. I've talked about it about 3 times on this show. Well, yeah. I just keep talking about the trailers, how excited I am for it.
Well, you know, it's funny, is like, when I knew I was going to do this interview, I was telling my wife, Emily, and I was talking about how I watched one of the newer trailers the other day where he's sitting there talking to Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner, and he's like, oh, well, what happened? He's like, oh, yeah, I won.
I don't know if I remember it that way, but, you know, and I was like, no, I won. I like their interactions. I like the way they interact. It's just it's the very good timing with one another.
Well, there was a great, you know, I remember one of the as much as I thought Age of Ultron had some problems, and it was probably one of my least favorite of the movies, of the Marvel movies. I still liked it. I still think it's a good movie, but it wasn't as good as a lot of the other ones. And they had some little, like, writing snafus that I thought in there. There were some great moments, and one of them was when Thor, and then talking to Bruce Banner after they take down Baron Strucker and the Hydra base, and he says, Mark Ruffalo goes, well, how did everything go? And Thor's like, oh, it's great. The Valhalla is filled with the screams of the Hulk's enemies. And he's just like, no. And he's like, oh, no, but they're not death screams, just pain screams. And, broken. You know, I love that interaction of like, it's just like, because it's like you got this. I like the fact that Mark Ruffalo did such a great, and there's not enough good things I can say about the cast of the Avengers in general, because I never have experienced, and I don't know if we'll ever will experience again, a series of movies where, as far as I'm concerned, they got every perfect person for the role.
So to talk about that, Jerry, which I'll make him fucking talk about it. We probably have talked about it. He doesn't like the casting of Chris Evans as Captain America.
What?
Swear to God.
I'm sorry. Okay. I don't even know what to say about that. Just because, like, Chris Evans is Steve Rogers' Captain America, so it's like I'm pretty sure that on his off days of not working, he goes out and fights crime. So I don't really have much of a response to that. I could not picture anyone else in that role. I think he has the hokiness down. There's so many things that he does well, in my opinion, like where he has that whole era of, like, in Civil War and Winter Soldier showed it best, but Civil War is a perfect example, because when he's talking to Tony and they're having that meeting when the Secretary of State first comes in, or Secretary of Defense rather, what's his name there? William Hurt comes in as General Ross, formerly General Thunderbolt Ross, guy who chased the Hulk for all those years, is now the Secretary of Defense. Comes in and tells him, about the Sokovia Accords and blah, 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 blah. And when you have those moments where Steve is talking to the people, and that was kind of like the essence of Captain America, is when he's talking, when he's saying, and Tony's like, when I found out my weapons were doing, I shut them down. And he's like, Tony, you chose to do that. Like, this is relinquishing our choice. And that was the greatest moment for me, because that was the essence of a lot of pretty much the same type. It was a different issue, the Civil War in the comics. It was a little different about what happened, but it was still the main idea of this, the government coming in and saying, this is what you're going to do, all your identities are no longer going to be secret, blah, blah, blah. The public needs full disclosure. And basically Steve Rogers saying, this is not American. This is not what this country is built on. You should not have to give up information on yourself, and basically being on, as far as I'm concerned, the right side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And going back to that point, though, I cannot believe that he thinks that. Give me a rundown of what are his points of why he doesn't like him.
It's tough. I'm gonna have to press him on it. I'll probably have to press it on him the next time we do it. You'll have to listen next time, and I'll press him, and I'll get him to say it all. I forgot. I feel like he did bring it up one time, and I kind of asked, like, who the hell would you have him play him then? And like, I don't remember who it was. I think I might have thrown. I was like, what would you want, like John Cena? And he's like, he'd be a better one. I'm like, what?
No!
Yeah. So it was just. You're gonna have to listen in 2 weeks and see when I press him, like, what he actually hates about him. But yeah, man, like, this has been a great time. We've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything you need to plug? You have your wife's company, like, if she has her own, like. I know she does stuff on the side besides, her normal, 9 to 5. Is there anything you want to plug before we go?
Well, I mean, I know that she does some work on DeviantArt, so I'm pretty sure if you look up Emily Broder on either DeviantArt, or she also has her own website. I don't know if it's out there, but she has plenty of art samples on there if anybody's looking for. I know she's just now starting to do commissions. So she will be starting to do DeviantArt commissions if anybody's interested. If you look at her website, if you can find it, hopefully you can. I don't have all the information. She's not here right now. The only other thing I would plug for myself is I am doing, what do you call it there, auctions on eBay. So if you ever want to go on eBay and you're looking for anybody who's into Magic the Gathering, I buy and sell collections. Check me out on the screen name on there is each has 777, I believe. Check out my auctions. I have a bunch on right now. Whole bunch of random stuff, and that's about it so far.
Awesome, man. Well, give my love to M, and love
Yes,
you,
sir.
love you too, big guy. And I'll
I
talk.
appreciate you having me on.
No, it was awesome. It was really cool. Feel good about this one. Feel good about it.
I like it.
All right, man. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later, buddy.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this up real quick. Thank you again, Kyle Broduer, for coming on, talking to us about Spider-Man. I think we're going to change the C in W.E.C.P. It's not going to be comics anymore. I feel that we don't talk about the actual comic books so much. We talk about comic book characters that tend to be in entertainment. We also talk about the comics that we do like and who wrote them and everything like that, but that can be a part of entertainment. So we're going to do C is now going to be collectibles. What we've been collecting, what we've seen, what news. This previous 2 weeks we've had, Force Friday. I picked up a couple 6-inch Black Series, Jedi Luke, Hera from Rebels, the Walmart exclusive Funko Pop Resistant BB unit, and a couple of the Titaniums, Finn, Kylo, Phasma, and Porg stuffed animal, which my girlfriend Jackie thoroughly enjoys. Makes some god-awful sounds, but she loves it. And you can hear it in the background. Just wanted to say that and talk about possible, the format change. I think saying comics is not 100% accurate. Collectibles is more like it. We talk about them at the end every time anyway, and kind of do a little mini figure review, like what we think of stuff. So just wanted to let you guys know, and thank you very much for listening. Godspeed.